Good morning. Welcome to the channel, Thy Children. Today is such a beautiful, magnificent day, and the topic of discussion is going to be anger and living a life of peace. So, how many of us have struggled with managing whether we face something that's very difficult or challenging, and naturally we just get frustrated, maybe even annoyed, upset, or very irate? But when it comes to the Word of God, it is possible to live a life of peace because God promises us a life that is abundant. And for us to live that life that is abundant, we must first believe that that is our life. The thing about living is that the root of everything begins with a belief within thyself. And so when we're children, we're not aware of the different things that we believe, but that's why as we're children, we're so impressionable, so we can believe anything that people say because our mind is hungry to develop a reality around the beliefs that are presented before us. Most times this does get in the way, though, as we become teenagers into young adults, because we realize that the things that we have adapted as our beliefs are not necessarily beneficial for the life that we realize that we want to live. And so we can either go walking around aware of these things or unaware. More times than less, half of the population, if not more, walk around unaware of the negative beliefs that we have adapted as we became adults. And so what does this mean for us as we continue to navigate life? Many of us may be in college, maybe even have families and children now, and we're seeing attributes or behaviors within our family now, like with what we dealt with growing up, into our children. So how do we do this? How do we stop the cycle of reacting instead of being active listeners? The truth is, it takes awareness and a hunger to see and to understand and to know the true life. And the only way to do that is to know God. Without God, it will continue to be striving after the wind and seeking to perform, to live a life that we think is right, but then more times than less, once you reach the end of that life, there's a lot of regret because there wasn't a true understanding of why you are alive. And in this, anger is developed more times than less because it's a secondary emotion. But if we don't teach children the primary emotions, then by nature, the mind will always go to the secondary emotion because the brain pathways are there already. So if I can't tie my shoe today, I get frustrated and angry. And instead of learning how to communicate those emotions, I just bottle it up. Many times, a lot of men, they are taught to just take it all and just, oh, it's just part of being a man. Just go through the motions, and whatever somebody says to you, just turn the other cheek and don't say anything. Okay, that's great. But however, what do I do with that energy that's still there, even though I walked away? Well, the energy is there because there's not an awareness of why we have it. And I want to go to Leviticus 19. And this is what we are to be as we navigate this life. The way the brain works is it has to believe for itself that it is possible to create a reality around this belief. If it doesn't believe consciously and subconsciously, then it will be very difficult to move forward and change. So in order to believe it, it's going through constant exposure, consistency, and practice in order to reprogram your brain for success. So we start by reprogramming our brain by reading the instructions of life. Many may say, oh, this is really religious, this is, conditional, what about this, what about that? I'm speaking of those who hunger and thirst for the righteousness of God, and who are hungry and are tired and sick of living the same life over and over again, trying to change and not change. And you all have a belief in God, but you're not really sure where to go or how to move forward in your life. These are the people I'm speaking to. And so with that being said, let's go to Leviticus 19:18. And in this, I read from the Sepharia, which is going to be the original scriptures. You know, a lot of different things in the world, there's so many different translations. So the first step is to allow yourself time to sit back and ask God, God, reveal to me the original scriptures. These scriptures are actually in Hebrew, but it has been transitioned over to English, the direct translation. And when the words cannot translate to English specifically, it still shows the Hebrew word, the Jewish language. So when we read this, it says, you are not to take vengeance. You are not to retain anger against the sons of your kinspeople, but be loving to your neighbor as one like yourself. I am Yahweh. And then Exodus 34:6 mentions, a God compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and faithfulness, and proclaim a God of compassion. So in order to understand who we are, how we can become what is the root of our life, we must have to go back into the beginning of Genesis, where we were created in the image of God. And so what that means is in his likeness. So by nature, it's our nature to be slow to anger, compassionate, and gracious. The only way to get back to that point is to clear our minds of all things that we have accumulated over the years in the fleshly world. The truth about the scriptures is that it's living, breathing, and it is created for us. The Word of God is the will of God. Many of us as believers of God say, Lord, if you would just tell me your will, I'll do it. His word is his will. And there's only so much that I want to share today when it comes to this. But the strategy this morning I want you all to practice is to stop, think, and pray. And prayer means to read his word within your mind, out of your mouth, and breathe it in. Okay, so start off the day with seeking, where in my day today that I can correct my quickness to anger. And we can do that by first reading Leviticus 19:18 over yourself and renewing your mind with it every hour, every 2 hours. Maybe, read it 4 times in the morning, on your lunch break, and then in the evening. Whatever you need to do, and take that time also to journal and write down, okay, this is where I started to feel that energy bubble up within me. And this is what I was thinking before those things start to bubble up in me. I hope you all have a fantastic Passover Eve or preparation day. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a super fantastic Friday.